Transparent woman in a transparent dress. It suits you well, I must confess. I'll break open your grapes. I'll suck out the juice. I need you like my head needs a noose. Goodbye, Jimmy Reed. Goodbye and so long. I thought I could resist her, but I was so wrong. Welcome to Songs of Experience, a Bob Dylan podcast where we explore the man and the music one song at a time. I'm your host, Henry Bernstein. I'm really happy to welcome back for a third time my bestie, the incomparable host of the must subscribe Infinity Goes Up on Trial, Erin Callahan, here to talk about our time seeing the last Bob Dylan show of the long hot summer in Nashville and the 2020 song from Rough and Rowdy Ways, Goodbye, Jimmy Reed. Hello, Erin, my friend.
Hello, I'm so happy to see you, and thank you for having me back. And what a lovely introduction. I tell everyone they need to subscribe to your show too, so it's a mutual admiration society for sure.
It sure is. I always love the first of the month because that notification comes with your podcast, and then there's always the cascade of Roberta Raycove posting first about it, and then I'll post about it, and then you are like so sweet the way you always say thank you, and then on the 15th of the month when I post, you always post, and
I
Roberta, and
I know
it's just a love
it's like
fest.
it is a love fest. I feel like an honorary Chicagoan actually, because I'm in the Chicago chat group, and you guys have really welcomed me, and so I appreciate that.
You're more than an honorary Chicagoan.
Oh, I
You're
love
like I
it.
mean, I just love that because of Bob Dylan, you and I see each other like three times a year in person.
It's it's so great because we just saw each other like 3 months ago in Abilene.
Right. We saw each other. I mean, I think so in 2025 we saw each other in Dublin
Yes.
and probably somewhere else, probably, I don't know, at another Dylan show somewhere. I don't know. But then this year, yeah, we've already seen each other in Abilene, Texas in April.
Mhm.
And was that May? Was that April? I
It was
don't
May
remember.
1st.
May 1st, right. Right. It was
Right.
a rare May show. And then yeah, we
Hmm.
saw each other in Nashville. I mean, it's great. Thank you, Bob Dylan.
Yeah, and we're on the last show tour too, because Dublin was the last show, Abilene was the last show, and this
Yes.
was the last show. So
Yes.
it seems to be our shtick. I was trying to figure out how many shows we've seen together, and you pointed out when we were sitting next to each other, which was a delight because this was the first time we got to sit next to each other, not during Dylan, but during some of the show.
During the
You,
openers.
yeah,
Yeah.
you said this is the second time we're seeing. It was the third time we saw Dylan in Tennessee because we saw two in Memphis, right?
Right, right, right. Did I say second at the time?
Yeah,
Yeah, right. I always forget there were two nights. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, right. Okay, we've seen Memphis, we've seen Tinley Park, Illinois. That's not
right.
Chicago. We've seen
We see.
Dublin and
Okay, so
Nashville.
Memphis, Nashville is two, three in Chicago,
Three. What else in Chicago? Oh, of course,
2023,
2023, right.
right?
Oh, and Beacon Theater.
Beacon
That's
Theater.
nine. That's nine shows.
All right, Tinley Park. It's got to be 9 or 10. So that's amazing.
We're almost at 10. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I'll go back in my Bob serve.
yeah,
You've got to update your Bob serve because then we can just click on it and see. So
yeah. That's But that's a lot of shows to see with someone. And
it
we
really
never sat
is.
together except for the Jimmy Vaughn opener, which was funny because we did have a moment that was related to this song in Jimmy Vaughn's set.
Right, of course.
When he played the guitar behind his head, you
He
and I like we
literally
both
played.
whipped our heads around. We're like,
I was like, never pandered.
we
Yeah.
literally just did it.
Yeah.
I was
Oh.
waiting for his shoes to come out in the crowd.
I mean, and he like literally pandered. He was like, "Hello, Nashville." Like
Absolutely.
even he had that one song where he's like, I'm going back to Texas. I'm going back to Texas." And he's like, "But I might stop in Nashville." And then I saw him in Atlanta the night before and he said, "But I might stop in Atlanta." It's like a person who actually does the thing where they play all the hits and play and mention the actual city, not something Bob Dylan does.
Right. Unless he's doing his like Wikipedia dad jokes.
Right, right.
Yeah,
It's been a minute since those. I
you're
miss
right.
those. I miss those. Yeah. So
I miss those. Go ahead.
so we want to talk about Goodbye Jimmy Reed, or you want?
Right.
I gave you your pick. I was like, my idea was let's talk about something from the set list, and
Right.
this is funny because the last time you were on here solo, we
Hmm.
talked about False Prophet.
Yes.
We almost talked about my own version of
My
you,
own
which is
version of you.
still reserved for you one day. I've
That
still
is
got the
on me.
notes. Um, And then you and Mike came on where we talked about Dublin
Hmm.
itself and kind of Dylan at large.
Right.
So it's great that you wanted to do Rough and Rowdy Ways again. Why, of all the songs, why from the set list? We could have done I Shall Be Released. We could have done Watching the River Flow. There's still a lot out there.
There is. And, watching the river flow would have been an interesting choice because I've been really into the Leon Russell sessions lately. But, you know, when I'm on a flight and it's like, it's early morning, you're like, pick a song. I was like, that I love this song so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
There's so much in it, and there's so like it's such a deep text to kind of pull apart that I thought, okay,
You love a deep text.
I do. We
Yeah.
can nerd it up but we can also have a lot of fun talking about how wonderful it was to see Bob play that song in Nashville because he was so joyful.
He really
And
was. Yeah.
that was just it was such a beautiful the whole time he was happy. I never saw angry Bob, did you?
No, no. I mean,
No.
really, the whole wave of from Cincinnati and on, basically
Right.
since or
The new
Chicago and on,
guitarist.
since the guitar switch, it's just been Happy Bob. So
Right.
I feel like we were lucky, and like we got a special guest on this song. Like that's a thing that doesn't happen. So I want to partially credit Michael Glover Smith for half manifesting it because he put out into the universe a wish that maybe Lucinda Williams would
Oh,
come out and sing I Shall Be Released with Bob, harmonize
mhm.
because she's from Nashville. But
Right.
instead we got Jimmy Reed to do some guitar stuff. Bob's already got these two amazing guitarists. Let's bring out Jimmy Vaughn. So yeah.
Yeah, it was just so what I love about it, like just to kind of start off is like in 2020 and 2022, Dylan paid tribute to Jimmy Reed through the song and through his entry on Big Boss Man and Philosophy of Modern Song.
Hmm.
And so there's this thing like where he said, okay, there's so much I want to say. So I'm not going to just dominate, but one of the quotes from Philosophy of Modern Song is Jimmy Reed is the essence of electric simplicity.
Mm.
And I love that. And so the song positions him as a figure of like a simpler time or some sort of purity that like there's a simplicity to him it's so pure that I don't like that people are responding to him and people like Elvis and the Stones and the Animals.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, I listened to the clam bake version of Big Boss Man like when I was prepping for this, and it's not great, but I like the 1971 Fillmore East by the Dead. It's a pretty good
Mm.
one.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but I just think like there's that, and he's one of those kind of forgotten people in
Yeah.
rock and roll, maybe
Yeah.
because not by musicians, I think, or the people who know that he's influential, but he died in 1976, kind of unknown and poor. And so, I think this is Dylan bringing him back and doing, what Eric Lott kind of says in Love and Theft, like a lot of people have taken from Jimmy Reed because they love him so much.
Hmm.
But this is Dylan, sort of expressing the love part and showing, paying tribute to him. And there's a line I want to talk about later, but we'll get there. And I want to have a conversation with you. I don't want to just talk at you.
Okay.
But the other quote is from Philosophy of Modern Song and Big Boss Man, not when he's deconstructing the song, but when he's talking about Jimmy Reed, is when they say rock and roll, the roll part belongs to Jimmy Reed. If it's not there, you can't think of it as rock and roll.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
like I love that because in the song, the tensions between the sacred and the secular or even the
Hmm.
profane are playing with
Hmm.
each other. And it's just such a beautiful tribute to this person who is so important to so many musicians, and having Jimmy Vaughn play it with him in Nashville in front of a bunch of musicians who were, populating, as we saw when we were on the lawn with Emma, populating the audience. It was just such a lovely moment. That's why I picked the song.
Wow, that is like the best answer to that question. You had that one ready to go.
I didn't even know you were gonna. Well, I guess I
Yeah.
knew you were gonna ask it, but I was like,
Yeah.
I love this song, and then I thought,
Yeah.
why do I love this song? Because
Yeah.
it's Dylan doing what Dylan does, and he really sort of straddles that line between love and theft. And this is so beautifully giving of, to tribute this person. And there are layers of allusions in it and references that are working together and also against each other at the same time. And it's just a fantastic song.
It really is. Well, it was
Yeah.
recorded between January and February of 2020 and released June 19th, 2020 on Rough and Rowdy Ways.
Mhm.
Song features vocals, guitar, and harmonica, the only harmonica on the album by
Which is
Bob
important.
Dylan. Very important, just like Trying to Get to Heaven on Time Out of Mind, the only harmonica on the album. Guitars were Charlie Sexton and Bob Britt, bass Tony Garnier, drums Matt Chamberlain, steel guitar, violin, accordion, and mandolin Donnie Herron, engineering and mixing Chris Shaw, engineering Joseph Lord, mastering Greg Calby, and of course produced by Jack Frost, also known as Bob Dylan. So, according to Wikipedia, this song is a tribute to blues giant Jimmy Reed. The song has been singled out for praise by critics for being the most raucous number on the album, otherwise predominated by quieter, slow to mid-tempo songs, and for playful lyrics that deliberately juxtapose the sacred and the profane, which is
Right.
and it's footnoted with what you just referred to. It is the only song on the album in which Dylan plays harmonica, and his first studio performance since he recorded The Christmas Blues for his album Christmas of the Heart in 2009. That
Wow.
just like sounds crazy to me.
It
None of
I
the
blew my mind.
none of the Sinatra albums have harmonica on them. I guess not. Like, I mean, it's just interesting to
Yeah,
me. So,
that's interesting. But I
yeah.
think it's really what's fascinating is I did not go to the Wikipedia page and I was reading a bunch of other stuff and writing my own notes. But I think it's interesting because what attracted so many young musicians in the 1950s, especially the British folks, was the simplicity of his guitar, the
Hmm.
crispness of his vocalization, and his harmonica.
Hmm.
And he had a signature harmonica, which Dylan points out in Philosophy of Modern Song. He played it in Iraq and he said, there's not much you can do, but it's unmistakable. Like, sort of like you said in Memphis about Dylan's voice being the way that we can hear his, the 1960 Dylan and the
Yes.
2026 Dylan.
Yes. When he
It's
plays
it
harmonica, you can hear him
right,
be that same Dylan that you know from the 60s. Yeah. It's the only
right.
time. Yeah.
It's, I mean, and he makes a similar point about how distinctive the Jimmy Reed harmonica is. So for that to be the only song on the album that he plays harmonica, and
Hmm.
he says that Reed ended his songs with harmonicas and it trails out with a harmonica.
Hmm.
It's definitely deliberate, you know?
And and Dylan had to have been inspired by that because that is a very Dylan-esque style of ending
Right.
songs with a harmonica
Of
solo, both
course.
on the album and live. And so, you know, I to be honest with you, I wasn't aware of Jimmy Reed before this song came out, other than like on a list of great underrated blues players from
Right.
things like that, and I'd maybe heard a song here or there. Because of the song, I went back and listened.
Hmm.
But to your point about sort of highlighting a forgotten blues legend, it shares a lot of DNA with Blind Willie McTell too. Just like
Right.
the name check, and then this sort of it, Blind Willie McTell has some sort of history of America in it, and kind of a little bit of biography in it. This doesn't
Hmm.
have that, but it has references to the actual person Jimmy Reed a few times, which
Right.
we'll get into and again the lyric. But like you said, Big Boss Man, also you don't have to go. Honest I Do, which immediately makes me think of Honest with Me, and I wonder if
Right.
there's something there. Baby, What You Want Me to Do, Bright
Hmm.
Lights, Big City. I mean,
Right.
everyone knows Bright Lights, not everyone. A lot of people know Bright Lights, Big City, but they probably don't know that Jimmy Reed
Yeah.
wrote it.
Right. And again,
So,
that's the
yeah.
love and theft aspect of it is
Yes.
that, these are songs that were made famous by, or popularized by other folks, and they don't know that they were originally Jimmy Reed's. And then we get to, you know, again, you and I are both in this kind of basket together of folks who like know Jimmy Reed is underrated blues player, got it, but we weren't as familiar with his work until, of course, Dylan gave us the little breadcrumb to go and follow the trail.
Mhm.
And so that's the love part is that he wants us to know, I think. Maybe I can't get into Bob Dylan's mind and I accept that I could be wrong about this, but he's giving us, the pathway to the original. Like he says in Chronicles, like he went and found, he kept going back and back and back to find the original recording or whatever. He's doing that for us. He's giving us that gift. And that's the love is like love for us, but also more so love for Jimmy Reed.
So we opened with the lyrics that were requested by you. Usually, folks here who listen to
Yes.
the show know that I usually open with the opening lyrics, and then sometimes don't even get back into talking about them. So I'm actually glad we jumped ahead because we'll definitely talk about the opening lyrics. But
Right.
are you saying, Erin? I didn't even question your request. Just I said, yeah, sure, that sounds great. Are you saying you're the transparent woman?
Oh God, no, no. Oh my goodness. I hadn't even thought of that. No. So I asked for that because I'm going to thank Bob and Debbie Russell for gifting me the ticket front row center and I could see all of Bob's expressions. So he and Jimmy Vaughn were standing very close to each other. And when he sang A Transparent Woman in a Transparent Dress, they both giggled like
Yes, they
little
did.
children. And
They
it was
sure did.
adorable.
You
And
can hear
that's why
Bob
I'm,
going, huh?
yeah, exactly. And
Listen to the
it
tape.
was it
Yeah.
was just so cute that he like with his friend, he's
Yeah.
kind of like, making that joke. But I also think it's interesting because we got that line kind of counterbalanced with the second line with the women wearing powder and paint and they're
Hmm.
in the church.
Hmm.
And that reminds me of Hamlet's speech
Hmm.
in to Ophelia in Act 3, Scene 1 of Hamlet, where he says, God gives you one face and you make yourselves another. And he's talking about how women use makeup to kind of deceive. And it's, more broadly about women's deception. But then we have this woman on the other side. So there, we have these pious women who are painting their faces. So maybe they're not so pious in their regular lives and they're kind of painting themselves in church. I don't know that that's necessarily it because we tend to wear our Sunday best, but when it's sort of counterbalanced with the transparent woman in a transparent dress, now we
Mm,
have someone who's a little bit more
mm,
honest about her
mm,
sinfulness.
mm,
And
mm,
so I love that because we have these, pious women who with the face paint on, and
mm,
then the woman who is more transparent, and he says,
mm,
It suits you well, I must
mm.
confess. I
That's some
love
great.
that.
That's some
Yeah,
great juxtaposition. Well, let's look at those opening lyrics. I live on a street named after a saint. Women in the churches wear powder and paint, where the
right,
Jews and the Catholics and the Muslims all pray. I can tell a Proddy from a mile away. Goodbye, Jimmy Reed, indeed. Give me that old time religion. It's just what I need.
right.
So, just starting from the end, Bob's already got a reference in there, that old time religion. That's a
Mhm.
song he's known for
Right,
years and everyone knows. I remember the first time I heard this song. And I mean, I remember where I was when heard Rough and Rowdy Ways. I was where everyone was. I was in my house by myself because it was the
locked in,
pandemic.
right?
Yeah. But I remember just like any reference to anything Jewish, like will pop me.
Right.
And any time like Bob Dylan references that kind of pops me like, oh yeah, you remembered that's part of your heritage.
Right.
And then to make it like this inclusive sort of hopeful or not real place that the street that he lives on named after a saint
Right.
and it's where the Jews, the Catholics, and the Muslims all pray. Now, of course, there are many other world religions that he could go through, but like
Right.
putting them all on that street together and that they're all praying, everyone in the third sentence of this song is putting these religions who have their peoples have battled with each other for centuries
Hmm.
in a Bob Dylan song, they're all praying on the same street. And I just
Right.
remember I had to go back and like listen to that line again. I couldn't believe it.
That's interesting because when I listen to it, I think of the three. I mean, I'm going to hear the Cathals are mentioned, my people, and so, but he puts the three Abrahamic religions
Hmm.
together,
Hmm.
and so I thought that that was interesting. But then he separates them out because I told you that one of the things I learned prepping for this was that Proddy is a term, maybe a derogatory term for Protestants.
Yeah,
And
that was
so
new to
he's
me.
and new to me too. And so he's separating Protestants out from the older Abrahamic religions, which
Hmm.
also it was the dominant religion in the United States. So there's a little bit of US religious history, even though we've all been here since the founding. We all
Hmm.
know that.
Hmm.
But the hegemony is really controlled by white Anglo-Saxon Protestants,
Sure,
right?
sure,
Okay.
sure.
So I think that you're right. And I was thinking about the sort of tension between the secular sacred and the religious sacred. And maybe, of course, because I'm definitely a true believer in Dylan, maybe the place where we all pray together is at a concert, is at, something like that. I'm like, well, I don't think he necessarily means that. I think you're probably more a lot right. And I've thought in similar pathways of like, there's this one street where there you can find a mosque and a synagogue and a Catholic church.
Hmm. Is it aspirational in a way, do you think, from Bob's perspective? Or
I don't know. Do you think he's hopeful or realistic?
to me, especially, right now, it just, to me, it doesn't seem like a realistic place.
Right.
And so to me, it seemed like in a time
A
when we were
simpler
all,
time.
yeah, but in a time when we were all sitting in our houses connecting over the internet because that's all we could do, this
Hmm.
line came out and that it was to me, I mean, maybe I'm just too wholesome for my own good and I
It's
always give
charming, though.
I always give Bob the benefit of the doubt, even maybe when he doesn't deserve it. But to me, it just felt hopeful. Like here is a here is a place where we're all together. And I mean, your read of it is my favorite. Like, you and I are literally the Jew and the Catholic, right? And
Really are.
and we talk about that stuff all the time. And we're
Hmm.
sitting next to each other. So, the street named after the Saint was Saint Bob Dylan, and it was at the Ascend Amphitheater
Right.
on August 1st. So I like that reading of it.
But it could be, I mean, we've been at so many other places, but there are,
Mhm.
streets named after saints everywhere,
Sure, sure,
And
sure.
so I just think like it could be, and in the United States, there are churches and synagogues and mosques and temples everywhere,
Hmm. Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
maybe it is realistic and we just haven't kind of, I don't know, mapped it out. And he's more tuned in than we are, which, I mean, when isn't he more
It's
tuned in than we
certainly
are?
it's certainly a more hopeful street than Desolation Row, which I talked about on my
Correct.
last album, where everything's pretty bleak. I would
Right.
say this is like if you leave Desolation Row, maybe you'll end up on that street named after Saint, where the Jews, Catholics, and Muslims all pray.
That would be nice.
Yeah, but he continues with the religious theme. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Go tell it on the mountain. Go tell the real story. Tell it in that straightforward, puritanical tone in the mystic hours when a person's alone. Goodbye, Jimmy Reed. Godspeed. Thump on the Bible. Proclaim the creed. I mean, this is a very, he had the three Abrahamic religions, the previous verse.
Mhm.
This is a very Christian verse of it, to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, Catholics are Christians, but you're saying like a very Protestant because the Puritans
Right.
settled Massachusetts and then um, that strain of religion moved south and became the foundation of the Southern Baptist. And so
Mm.
that thump on the Bible, that's definitely kind of conjuring up sort of a revival or a Southern Baptist church for sure.
Hmm. How
And
old is
then
the term Godspeed? Is that like goes that go back to like centuries,
that I have no
England?
idea about.
Like, okay.
That's a good question.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm so
you've
sorry.
seen it in literature. I've heard it
Right.
before. Um, it's not really so much said in Judaism. Someone
Like
might
via con Dios. Yeah, go with
yeah, right.
God.
Kandi is
Yeah.
right. An Orthodox Jew might say Be'ezrat Hashem, which means with the help of God,
Hmm.
or something. Yeah, I mean, using that sort of biblical language of "Thine is the kingdom, the power and glory." Go tell
Well,
it on
that's
the
the
mountain.
Lord's Prayer. That's how the Lord's Prayer ends.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
great. Oh, so he's just quoting directly. Okay,
Right. But
yeah.
then also go tell it on the mountain is a Protestant hymn.
Go tell it on the
I'm like, if you've ever watched
mountain.
Little House on the Prairie when you were growing up, you know that hymn.
So I actually know it from the most Jewish way possible, if you can believe
Yes, I
it.
love this.
You're gonna love this. So there's an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry finds out that his dad, who is like had a stroke or something, tells him he was adopted. And he was
Hmm.
like barely conscious. And Larry's like, "What? I'm adopted." And he tracks down that his actual parents are a couple from Arizona named the Cones, Cone. And he goes
Hmm.
down to visit them, and they're like super Gentile. They're like Protestant, and Larry just he goes, "Oh my God." I'm a Gentile. And like his whole personality changes and becomes a nice person.
I've
And
seen
like,
that one.
oh, it's great. It's the season finale of five, I think.
I'm gonna watch it.
And yeah, it's amazing. And anyway, and so there's this great montage of him doing all these Gentile things. Like he's, he's fixing the shingles on a roof, he's just,
Be
and
like
then,
raising a barn. Like
yeah, he's just like doing things that like nebbishy Jews like me can't do, and wouldn't do, and so and then at one point he's in church and they're singing "Go Tell It on the Mountain" and he's got the hymn book open and he's singing at the top of his lungs with a big smile on his face, like he's
that's
enjoying being a Gentile.
amazing.
So that's how I know that song.
But it's also James Baldwin's first novel. The novel is, I love James Baldwin. In fact,
Oh, I don't think I knew that about you.
oh my gosh, when I met Court, you know
Hmm.
Court, who I
Yeah.
edit with, my buddy
Yes.
Court, I actually went to the panel that he presented on at 2019 World of
Mm.
Dylan
Mm.
because another person was presenting on Dylan and James Baldwin, and I went to
Mm.
see that, and I was just so struck by how wonderful and
Mm.
insightful and brilliant Court's paper was that I met Court, and the rest, 2 books later, the rest is history.
Right.
But I love James Baldwin. And so when I heard that, I'm like, okay, Go Tell It on the Mountain. But it struck me because it's a semi-autobiographical novel about the main character, whose name is John, about his history, how he deals with racism, but also his identity. And part of that identity in the third part of that novel is his spiritual awakening. And he, during a prayer service, and he feels a strong connection to God. And so,
Mm.
again, the layering of these symbols or these images is just beautiful. And I can't imagine that Dylan isn't aware that that's the name of both a hymn and
Oh,
James Baldwin's first novel,
oh,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
And so it's like it's also this idea that the character John is moving from, as a result of the spiritual awakening, it is moving from childhood to adulthood. And there's more to it than that. I'm
Mm.
oversimplifying, but it's just really interesting that again, it has to do with sort of, taking place in a church and so on and so forth. Like it just
Mm.
again fits with the theme of the song and that lyric.
Are the mystic hours when a person's alone, is that a reference to anything specific, or it's just like the witching hour, like the
I
mist,
just
like
thought of it as like Jesus and the devil. I mean, the desert. That's what I was thinking of it
okay,
as. Like
okay,
sort of like you're alone and you're kind of questioning your faith and going through trials and whatnot. That's how I kind of looked at it.
okay.
But I could be wrong. It could just be a witching hour.
Mm. You won't
So
amount to much, the people all said, because I didn't play guitar behind my head, never pandered, never acted proud, never took off my shoes and threw them into the crowd. Goodbye, Jimmy Reed. Goodbye and good night. I'll put a jewel in your crown. I'll put out the light. I read the never pandered, never proud that way because for some reason, I don't know why, but on more than one occasion, I have a sense memory of noticing that Bob was doing a little bit of the dreaded up singing on Never Pandered, Never Acted Proud.
mhm.
And although he's now actually singing, it was just like singing harmony. But
Right.
I don't know why. That's just like a thing. Like I've been humming, since you said goodbye, Jimmy Reed the other day, that I've been like just wandering around my house going, never pandered, never proud. So
Hilarious.
the things that go in my head when I'm thinking about Bob Dylan, which is always so.
This is where I think we see a shift because it
Yeah.
goes away from the sacred and into the secular. And he's talking more specifically or biographically about Jimmy Reed here. Like
Yeah.
he's never pandered. And it goes back to, that quote from Philosophy of Modern Song or that
Hmm.
hope that's 2 pages. He writes one small page, like maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs about Big Boss Man, but then there are 2 pages with images on them about Jimmy Reed. And he's really talking about, the simplicity but the purity of Jimmy Reed's playing. And that
Hmm.
you're right, there's no stage tricks,
Hmm.
nothing theatrical. He's
Hmm.
just there to play good music.
He's not another famous Jimmy like Jimi Hendrix,
Right,
who famously did all kinds of tricks with his guitar,
right,
who Bob also loved,
right.
or Jimmy Vaughn, who we saw literally play guitar behind his head, as we mentioned earlier. So,
It was
yeah.
such a like this strange moment. We were both like, we looked at
He
each
did
other.
that.
He's
Yeah.
like,
And then that he came back later. I mean, it's like too
and
meta.
played the song. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of those specific lines. So you won't amount to much, the people all said. So that feels like finger pointing a little bit, like you got a lot of nerve to say you are my friend. Like, I don't know, maybe he heard that at one point.
Maybe, but also I'm trying to think of which song it is, but there's one of the songs by Jimmy Reed is autobiographical that he left Mississippi and moved to Chicago, even
Hmm.
though he's not technically Chicago blues.
Hmm.
Um, but he left to become a musician so he wouldn't be stuck in the sharecropper life.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of how I read that, is
Hmm.
that you won't amount to much is because he comes from, a black family who are
Hmm.
sharecroppers and,
Hmm.
maybe like there's that sort of cycle of poverty, which, we see happen in America. But I think it is like he just kind of left and went to Chicago and kind of started playing blues. That's how I read it. But yeah, it could be finger pointing. Maybe they said that about Dylan. Everyone except Beatty said that about Bob.
Right, right, exactly.
That's
Um,
all he needed.
yeah, and there's nothing more biographical than never pandered, never acted proud. I mean, I don't know about the
Mm.
never acted proud part, but like Bob Dylan famously does not has never pandered. I mean,
No,
you might see it. I mean, you might have seen it in your study of the 80s when he's, in those big arenas here and there, but but pretty much I don't think he's ever pandered.
I don't. Yeah, no, I don't even think in those big shows. I mean, maybe I don't know when he. I mean, even when he's coming back from starting to play more secular songs after the gospel era, I don't think that's pandering either.
No, he
You
was
know,
that was
I
that was purely creative. Like
right.
it felt very natural.
Maybe making music videos was pandering because that's where the industry was going, but
Well, he sort of invented the music video. So,
true.
yeah,
Right.
I
But
mean, right. I mean, I mean, but overall, even if he's pandered here and there, in
right.
general, he's never pandered. And I don't know, like, never acted proud. Does that mean like being prideful? Because like he's very stubborn
Hmm.
and, prideful in that way, but also I would say like Bob Dylan, I don't think of him as like the type of artist who boasts or
Mm-mm.
prideful in that way.
I think there's a sense of humility in that too, that almost that if he is talking about himself while he's talking about Jimmy Reed, that he's trying to equate himself with Jimmy Reed in some way, and that
Hmm.
there's a deference to that, that
Hmm.
he thinks so highly of Jimmy Reed and his style and his play that,
Hmm.
there he's trying to maybe not that he's actively saying I want to be Jimmy Reed, but that's the type of musician he is, I guess, is what I'm trying
Hmm.
to say, is that he's not going to put on a sequin jumpsuit. Like unless it's
Right. I
Budokan,
was gonna
maybe,
say,
but
unless it's 1978, yeah, right.
right.
Yeah. Well, speaking of clothing, what is never took off my shoes and threw them into the crowd a reference to? Like, I've seen plenty of rock stars throw picks into the crowd, throw a
Right.
towel into the crowd. Is that what that's like? Who would throw their shoes in the
I don't
crowd? Is that
know.
okay?
I
Yeah.
didn't find that, in my research because I'm not sure I don't know. Maybe
Okay.
the Google, yeah, maybe the
Yeah.
Google machine knows, but
And what about
I was focused on the transparent woman
okay,
and like,
please.
yeah,
Well, yeah, we're not there
I know.
yet. But what does I'll put a jewel in your crown, I'll put out the light mean? Is
Maybe
that
it's a song. Like this
uh-huh.
is it,
Uh-huh.
That's how
Yeah.
I take it is like,
Uh-huh.
here's the jewel, you're getting recognition, and now we're done.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
What do you think?
It seems too specific, like I don't
Right.
know, like something from Greek mythology or Shakespeare, like someone anointing someone
Right.
as a queen or king or as a monarch by putting a jewel in the crown. That's what it feels like to me.
Well,
Like,
that's what I'm saying is like giving him his just due, but then like
mhm.
put out the light.
That,
That's
yeah.
when Othello kills Desdemona. Like he says, put out the light and put out the light. So
Oh, yes, of course.
we don't. Yeah.
This album has so much Shakespeare. I mean,
Yeah.
really starting, of course, with Tempest. I mean, you could go even back further, right? Desolation Row again.
Mm.
We've got Ophelia, but
Right.
he's been, Dylan clearly loves Shakespeare, but it's amazing how Shakespeare's all over this album
Hmm.
specifically. Like,
Right.
what was Bob thinking about?
I know I'm
Um,
writing about Murder Most Foul right now, so I'm in it.
Woo, that's heavy.
And Finnegan's Wake. What was I thinking? This
Hey, your
sounds like
book's
a
done, so on to the next thing.
this sounds like a suicide mission. Let's do this.
Exactly. They threw everything at me, everything in the book, had nothing to fight with but a butcher's hook. They have no pity, they don't lend a hand, and I can't sing a song that I don't understand. Goodbye, Jimmy Reed. Goodbye and good luck. Can't play the record because my needle got stuck. All right, so here we get the first reference to the actual Jimmy Reed. Had nothing to
Mhm.
fight with but a butcher's hook. He
Right.
famously, or maybe not famously, moved to Chicago after World War II and worked in an armor meat packing plant.
Hmm.
I mean, the Chicago South Side and West Side was known for the meat packing plants. It was a
Right.
big part of business in Chicago, and I mean, that would have been something for someone, a way for someone to find a job in Chicago upon moving
Right.
there. So that's kind of a cool reference that Bob, threw that in
Hmm.
there. It's got that later Bob Dylan, that 21st century Bob Dylan violence to it, how he
Hmm.
loves like blood and weapons and violence. Like so that butcher's hook, like you
Right.
almost kind of think of a serial killer or something.
Yeah. Like, Tempest is incredibly violent and like, yeah. So again, we go back to Tempest, but yeah,
Yeah.
that sense of violence in there, that's really good analysis.
And he's using it here in a violent way.
Right.
He's not saying Jimmy Reed used it to pack meat.
No, he's saying the
That's
only thing I had to fight with
Yeah.
was,
And maybe
yeah,
maybe Jimmy Reed did. Like maybe that was, something he used to defend himself. I don't know. And then I love the line, I can't sing a song that I don't understand, which I have to believe is Bob taking a dig at any and people nowadays being like, I mean, literally, I heard it last weekend when we were in Atlanta and Nashville. I didn't understand a word he said. Like this has been going on for years. Like
right.
the stupid, very 60s blonde on blonde-esque imitation of Bob Dylan, like
Hmm.
so that's what I think that means. I don't know. What do you think? Do you
No,
think
I
that
think that's great. I can't sing a song I don't understand. I was thinking, like, of course, thinking about whatever he sings, he understands and believes in. So whether it's
Mhm.
like, through the gospel, like whatever he's singing, he's in it. He understands it, he embodies it, he's performing it in an honest way. And so
Mhm.
that's kind of how I took it. But I also like that sort of the double entendre of like, you can't understand me. Like,
And it's
that's pretty
kind of
funny.
true. Like
Right.
we not even just like what he's saying. Like we don't know.
Right.
Like what is he up to? It's what are his the reasons for his choices?
Right.
Like, you mentioned when he started reintroducing his earlier catalog coming out of the Christian period. It's it's similar to me to reintroducing older catalog coming out of the Rough and Rowdy Ways period, and
Right.
then reintroducing Rough and Rowdy Ways back into his summer tour. And it just keeps me guessing. Like, I don't understand what you're doing, but maybe you understand these songs you're singing. Like, you're not going to sing
Right.
something that you don't want to. And maybe
Hmm.
a way of saying that is by, I don't understand.
Right. I think we're always catching up to him, so it'll be a few years before we figure it out,
Right.
if at all. But I do think that there's, Roberta and I, of course, were talking about that line earlier. And
Mm.
it's almost one of the most important lines of the song because it's from first person. And so we assume that even if he's performing the song, he's singing that. And
Hmm.
it's coming from him and maybe from an honest place that he's we think about the things that he's left off albums and show up on bootlegs. And so, maybe that's part of it is he's not gonna like sing a song unless he fully understands it and embodies it. Maybe. I don't know. But I also like the you can't understand me. I don't
Yeah, I
care.
like both. Yeah, let's let's go. And I couldn't help but notice, here he has goodbye and good luck, where previously it was goodbye and good night. And
Hmm.
I couldn't, when I hear goodbye and good luck, that just makes me think of good night and good luck, Edward
Hmm.
R. Murrow's famous
Right.
sign off. And I wonder, like, if you combine the two, if you smush the two together, you'll get it, good night and good luck, or
Right.
goodbye and goodbye. And I just wonder if that was something that was maybe, a sign off, because he's got all these sign offs after every
Mhm.
verse. He's got
Right.
Jimmy Reed indeed, Godspeed, goodbye and good night, and now
Right.
goodbye and good luck. I wonder if that was swirling around in his head, good night and good luck. It's such an iconic phrase in broadcasting, and I'm sure he was listening to CBS radio and watching CBS
Right.
TV on, whenever Edward R. Murrow was on TV.
I think too, maybe a little cynic in me thinks, well, it just fits with I can't the rhyme fits because the needle got stuck.
Hmm.
Like maybe that was it. Like I need, oh, goodbye and good luck. Like that works. Maybe maybe
Yeah,
we're overthinking it.
maybe. Well, and also like it's Dylan listening to records.
Mhm.
Like he probably was listening to old blues records, and that thing that probably happened. The needle got stuck maybe while he was listening to Jimmy Reed, in the record store where he'd sit in the booth for hours
Right.
just playing the records. So, yeah. All right, we have arrived. Transparent woman in a transparent dress. It suits you well, I must confess. I'll break open your grapes. I'll suck out the juice. I need you like my head needs a noose. Goodbye, Jimmy Reed. Goodbye and so long. I thought I could resist her, but I was so wrong.
Oh, the evil temptress, the myth of Eve, right?
Uh-huh.
That
Yeah.
he's both attracted and repulsed by her because he thought he could resist her because she's something to resist. If he's going to be, pious and good, he has to resist her. However, he can't do it.
Mm.
It's that battle between like flesh and spirit, and he
Is
knows what he's supposed to do, but he does not.
is he talking to the transparent woman when he's saying it suits you well?
I think so.
Yeah. And I love that I love that I must confess, which takes us
Right.
back to the Catholics from above. Like
I was
he's
just going there. Yeah.
oh yeah, I got it. I got one.
You got one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love, I'll break open your grapes, I'll suck out the juice. That sounds so sinful too,
Right.
right after the confession.
And sexual,
And
right?
definitely sexual, but it also sounds again violent in a way. Like it
Right.
sounds like something
Because
from
you're
like early
breaking them
Roman
open.
kings, like
Right.
yeah, breaking them open and like suck like first of all, who eats grapes like that? You just pop them in your mouth like
Right.
but okay.
But
It
I do think
it
like it's
sounds like
interesting.
vampiristic too, like,
Yeah.
suck out the juice,
But there's like, so you confess your sins. And so, he's having lustful thoughts about that woman because she's in a transparent dress. And so,
Mhm,
it suits you well, I must confess. And so he's
mhm,
confessing his sin.
mhm,
But then, our communion is with wine and it's made with grapes. And so I think of that too. There's a sense of communion, but you're right. It's
mhm.
like sort of this angry, violent kind of like he's like breaking them open and sucking but it's also very sexual and suggestive too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he has this great line, which I think should replace I need it like I need a hole in the head. Because like this is an all-timer Bob Dylan. I know on every single episode I'm here, I talk about like an all-timer Bob Dylan rhyme or something. This
Right.
is this is like Hall of Fame right here. I need you like my head needs a noose. Brilliant.
In Dublin, he sang I couldn't make out the line. And I asked you and I asked Mike, I asked so many people, but he says, and wrote this in my review for the Dylan review, he says a line and then he says, but what's the use? And so he goes from this like, it becomes complete resignation,
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
just like, what's the
I give
use? Like,
up.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So I
Yeah.
don't know what that line was, what he said before it. I listened to that bootleg and many different bootlegs to try to hear that line. I asked you guys, you're like, I don't know what it was, but I need to know what that line was. So if anyone's listening, they know, please just send me a
Please.
message.
Yeah, let us know what he says if you listen to the Dublin
Right.
tape.
Dublin, November 25th, 2025,
There
right?
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
need
mean,
I need
he
to
sang a
know.
song that you didn't understand, I guess.
I guess
So,
he just one line. Just one line. Because as soon as he said, what's the use? I was like, what?
so this is a great time since we're going to talk about a little bit more about Jimmy Vaughn and Jimmy Reed and this is the reason why you want to talk about this verse. So I think this is a good time to talk about the statistics of this song. So
Okay.
Goodbye Jimmy Reed is another one where the numbers don't quite match on bobdylan.com and bobserve. Um,
Okay.
but this time I was able to figure it out. So I don't if they're close enough, I can usually figure out what's missing.
Hmm.
When there's a vast difference, I'm like, I don't know, sound check something.
Right.
It's always bobdylan.com is the mistake. But anyway, according to
No.
bobdylan.com, it's been performed 325 times, while bobserve has it at 327, but I figured out exactly why.
Okay.
BobDylan.com is missing the October 21st, 2025 Copenhagen performance entirely. That's one.
Okay.
And Bob Serve counts Goodbye Jimmy Reed twice at the March 25th, 2026 Iowa City show where Bob started a slow version, aborted it, and then immediately played the song again in its regular arrangement. So that
Oh,
counts as
as two.
two.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was there for both the first and the last,
Hmm.
Milwaukee of 2021, and then with you in Nashville.
Yes.
The last as of now, so I guess I should
Right.
say the most recent. Personally, I've totaled seeing it 24 times. It
What?
is fourth on my most heard song list.
Okay.
And it's 64th on the all-time played list between, not surprisingly, Black Rider and Cross the Rubicon. If you
Hmm.
remember, Bob Dylan added Cross the Rubicon later into the Rough and Rowdy Ways set. It's ahead of Rubicon, but not ahead of Black Rider. Whew. Those are all the stats I got. What do you think about that?
I think it's I think it's amazing. I think he likes playing the song,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
He likes
mean,
closing with it. I mean, it's before the quote unquote encore. You
right.
know, it feels like it's his like a Rolling Stone right now, or his Summer Days or whatever,
Well,
Thunder on the Mountain.
yeah, but summer days. Yeah, it jams. I mean, it's up tempo. And when he played it, this was less swingy, I think, the one in Nashville than the one in Dublin.
Yeah.
Um, but I think he likes playing it, and it's a really good way to kind of like get us amped up before he goes to the closer.
Ugh, it's
Yeah,
so good. I mean,
it's
yeah, it
so
is
good.
it is one of the few up-tempo songs on the set list. I mean, I guess
Mhm.
in his summer set list has more up-tempo, but
Right.
it's still a lot of slow stuff, and it's slower than the album. This
Mhm.
this Rubicon and False Prophet, the three big blues songs on the album. I mean,
Right.
I can picture myself when the album came out, getting the CD, of course, as I always do with Bob Dylan albums, and cranking it on False Prophet, and we've talked about that.
Hmm.
Cranking it, with my windows down, sunroof open, summertime kind of thing. That's like what I'm picturing. And cranking it on Jimmy Reed too. I mean, it's and like banging my steering wheel on, Needle Got
Hmm.
Stuck and things like
Right.
that. I mean, and by bringing Jimmy Vaughn in when we saw him on this, I mean, we should say he played on three songs. He played on False Prophet,
Right.
right? And I Can Tell,
Hmm.
and this, right? Were those
Yeah.
the three? So
And Mike
to,
said it was the best I can tell he's ever seen.
oh, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. I mean, that was another one where he was laughing. And I wrote in my review for Ray Padgett's fabulous Flagging Down the Double E's.
Your brilliant review.
Oh, stop.
No,
Thank you. It's
it
very
was
sweet
so
of you.
good.
Thank you. I said that it seemed like many of the lyrics he was singing at Jimmy Vaughn, because
Hmm.
remember, Jimmy Vaughn got in really close
He
to him.
did.
And then at a certain point, Tony got really close, and the
Hmm.
three of them kind of had a thing going. And
Yeah.
I actually haven't seen Bob Dylan and Tony directly interact in that way in years, maybe.
Right.
So, and
Everyone was happy.
yeah, yeah, they were having fun. They were like they're boys. They were just
Right.
like rocking, jamming.
I think that Joel Patterson maybe isn't that smiley, but Julian
Oh,
was very smiley.
I
Yeah.
could count every single one of his teeth. I mean, you could like he was like that in Chicago too. He was just like, and
Right.
Julian, what he's doing is a lot more subtle than Joel. I mean, he gets a
Hmm.
few solos and they trade licks a
Right.
little bit, but for the most part, Joel Patterson is the lead guitarist
Right.
of the band. But Julian is just like seems like he's like so happy to be there. Like, I'll play
Hmm.
chords, fine, or I'll noodle
Sure.
around.
Yeah. And then like there were a few times when I caught Tony would look at him and they were just so happy. Like everyone was just so joyful. And I mean, we've been at shows where everyone is not joyful.
No, yeah.
And the
Yeah.
last time I saw Jimmy Vaughn play with Bob, I always think you were there because Adam was there, and I just put you and Adam and Mike
No,
together.
I wasn't in Austin.
I know I hate that,
Unfortunately, I know I hate it too. I know.
but
The only GA show
I
of the
know,
one of
so
the only
good.
GA shows, the Rough and Rowdy Way show. Yeah, I didn't make
But
it.
they took Doug Lancio off and they didn't leave all the guitarists on. So, and like I turned to Court and I was like, did Doug just get fired in the middle of the show?
Oh my God, how
So he,
prophetic.
yeah, so like he would come off and then like Jimmy would come on. And when Jimmy Vaughn came on, it was like, as Court said, Christmas morning Tony, and everybody was happy. And then it would kind of like Jimmy Vaughn went off and it was like everybody went back
It
down.
reverted back.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
oh, interesting.
oh,
Wow. So they were
yeah.
kind of bad vibes are all the way back then. Yikes. I mean,
Right.
it's so interesting us talking about the last show and just like this elation of joy.
Hmm.
And that's what I felt in Cincinnati as well. There was which was this exciting new guitarist, Jad Tariq, who we didn't know his name during the show. He was just there.
Right.
There was just like it's so interesting. There the Rolling Stone. By the way, shout out Andy Green for including my quotes in his review of of that in Rolling Stone. Dream come true. But Rolling
Of
Stone,
course.
Relics, Jambase, so many news outlets made such a big deal about the drama of this summer tour with the exit of Doug Lancio and Bob Britt, and like
Hmm.
the little bit of social media that Bob Britt put out, and like I felt like I felt like those those places were being kind of like making more out of it than it
Hmm.
was.
Right.
And so the end of that story being just pure joy, everyone's happy. I
Hmm.
think in many ways it kind of vindicates Bob Dylan and his choices. Now, I imagine there are some bad feelings that are there, and
Right.
I'm sure that there are times when Bob Dylan was not a kind boss or a kind person, and that led to those departures. And, we don't
Right.
know for sure what happened other than Bob Britt saying on his social media, I quit. Um,
Yeah, sayonara, Bob. I mean,
yeah,
when I read that too, I just thought whatever happened is between them, of course,
yeah,
and we'll
yeah.
never know. But I don't, I don't know. It just made me feel icky when he posted that.
It didn't feel great, all that stuff. And
Right.
and again, but if I'm gonna defend Bob a little bit, not maybe in how he
Which
did it,
Bob?
Dylan.
Okay.
I mean, I'll defend Doug Lancio and Bob Britt all the
Right.
way. Like they
Of
were in a
course.
bad situation. They need to get out. Maybe I don't know. I don't know actually what happened, but anyway, for whatever reason, the vibes were off,
Right.
and Bob Dylan made a choice to change the vibes.
Hmm.
He could have canceled the tour. I mean, if he wanted to, I mean, Live Nation would have been pissed. But
Right.
my point is that whatever bad things that happen, the end result was that the vibes got better and everyone was happy, and it made for a better experience for the people watching the show.
Right.
And like certainly like the shows I saw at the beginning of the tour, I was in Woodinville, Washington,
Hmm.
suburb of Seattle
I
or
was
whatever.
going to go to that, but then my nephew went to China and he wasn't
Oh,
there, so I didn't go.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, um, aside from getting neurovirus and missing the second show
Oh my
and
God.
and seeing the only "You Ain't Going Nowhere" of the tour and in years, where Bob Britt and Doug Lancio sang harmony,
Hmm.
which was insane. Despite all that, there was definitely this feeling like people did not look happy on stage.
Right.
And so I think Bob's choice to change that, how he did it maybe wasn't so great. I think like we benefited from that.
Mhm. I think he did too, because he seemed happier. I mean, the folks who were still there, which are Tony, Bob, and Anton, were happy.
Yeah.
You can't really see Anton behind the drum set, but I'm just going to assume he was happy.
I
I think
saw
drummers are by and large just happy people. As a
yeah,
child of one, that.
for whatever reason, wherever I was always sitting on Rough and Rowdy Ways tour, I could never see Anton, but
Hmm.
I saw him a bunch this in the later part of the tour, and
Right.
there were moments even beyond just the nod that Bob gave him to
Hmm.
stop or whatever it was.
Right.
Like there was a smile happening. So I think all around, yeah. I mean, like, what do you think happened? We're just speculating here. What do you think happened, like backstage? Like, do you think like Dylan had been talking to Lucinda and Jimmy the whole tour? Like, do you think he said just that night, I want you to come out for 3 songs? Like, what do you think the genesis of all that was?
I, you know, so I think that Emma Swift, kind of shed some light on it when we talked to her after Jimmy Vaughn's set, and she was kind of, showing us people and introducing us to people, and the fact that he was in a musician's town,
Hmm.
maybe he had to, you know, it's the last show. I always think he plays the best for the last show because it's going to be a while before they're together again, and I just feel like he puts it all out there, which is
You
why
and
I
I are
like him.
suckers for last shows for
I
sure.
can't help
Michael
myself. I
too.
really
Yeah.
can't. I
Yeah.
know, I know. That's how I ended up in Dublin.
Right.
you know, so that's that. But I think that, playing with folks, and he did play with Jimmy Vaughn and Lucinda a lot, but I think playing especially in Lucinda's hometown, and she
Yeah.
did such a beautiful set.
Oh,
I'm
incredible.
surprised he didn't bring her out. I wish he had.
He might
And
have
that's,
asked. Maybe she didn't want to do it,
yeah,
you know?
maybe that was
Yeah.
very selfish, but she was so lovely blowing kisses to her band. I mean, she's just a beautiful human. But I think maybe because he'd already played, Jimmy Vaughn had already played in Austin, and that was the last show, I think, too.
Hmm. Hmm.
Maybe he just said, like, hey, you want to come out? And Jimmy's like, sure, Maybe it was just that impromptu. But I also think that the show was exponentially better because we were in Nashville and there were so many musicians in the
Yeah.
crowd.
It was
And
Music
it was
City,
the last show.
USA. Home of Johnny Cash, his
Right.
museum right down the block, right?
I went.
You sure did.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it really did have that special vibe to it. Everyone, there was just such a joy in the crowd. The Even the lawn had a different vibe. Every
Right.
other one of these places, the lawn is like, a million miles away, and you
Hmm.
can't see Bob because he turns off the screen. It's like,
Right.
like I on the Outlaw tour, I didn't sit lawn. Michael and Adam were committed to lawn. Lawn was their thing for Outlaw. I can't do it. I got to see him. And I remember Outlaw wasn't your thing. I remember you didn't love the Outlaw tour. You told me it's like it's not my favorite.
No, let me
Yeah.
just,
Caveat.
okay.
Yeah.
No, I love Dylan's sets at the Outlaw.
Oh,
Like, Mr.
every,
Blue was one of my favorite things I've
uh,
ever heard. I got to see Silvio for the second time. I'm like,
yeah.
and I remember like, you got your Silvio. I was like,
Yeah.
I sure did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I per I'm gonna be a bit of a snob. I like the Dylan crowd.
Yes.
And that's what I don't love about Outlaw. I
Yeah. The
think
Willie
that,
crowd is the thing at Outlaw. It's a thing.
right.
Yeah.
It's a different vibe. And
Yeah.
so, and I love Willie. I enjoyed seeing him, but I just think it's a different vibe than the Bob crowd.
Well, I
And
could
not,
see why Bob Dylan wanted to do his his own version of Outlaw, like the Bob
mhm,
Dylan version, like as I
right,
called it, Hot Bob Summer.
right.
Like he clearly picked the guys that he wanted and gals, and they were all perfect. Like
Right.
you didn't get to catch John Doe,
Mm-mm.
but he was wonderful.
I saw
He
John Doe at Canes
Yeah,
for the Sooner
for
or Later. Was that it? In February?
and you also saw him in in July for the Dylan conference
Oh
when
yeah.
we were at
Well, yeah,
Canes.
and then I went for the other show
Yeah.
in February. He's
Yeah.
great.
He's amazing. And his
Yeah.
whole tour was great. So it just, yeah, there was a great vibe all around. The people on the lawn were happy.
Hmm.
People in the seats were happy. There were no yappers. I mean, I even looked around
No.
and everyone was there for the music. It was
Hmm.
really cool. I was
Yeah.
seated next to, for Bob, a father and daughter who are just driving around the country seeing shows and they love
That's
Bob
nice.
Dylan. I was like, I love you
I wish
guys.
that woman hadn't showed up.
Oh
The
my
one
God.
sitting.
No, wait,
Yeah. The one
so
who took the picture of him at the end, it made me so mad.
and then that woman, like during the show, she also like didn't know where her seat was. She was wandering around.
She
What was
was
going on there?
Well, you know that there weren't, this is something probably the audience doesn't need to know, but the seats weren't numbered. And so when the usher sat us down, they sat us like over one. So I was actually in her seat. And then they wanted to sit her on the other side by Debbie, but she had to be right in the middle because she wanted to film him. And I was like, you're not going to be able to film him
Oh my God,
or
you
take
actually
a
had to say this.
picture. And she said, I paid a lot for this seat. I said, yeah, okay. And then she was just really annoyed she couldn't take a picture of him. So at the end, when he stood up and she took a picture, and the security guard yelled at her, and she's like, "What are you going to do? Kick me out?" She said, "What is he going to do? Kick me out?" And I said, "That's really not cool. Like, he doesn't want his picture taken." I was like, "I'm not on your side, ma'am."
Yeah, don't like make this the thing that we're like
Right,
together on. Yeah, I
right,
know. I know. I will say I have really grown to enjoy that experience of like not everyone on their phones during the
right.
show. Like it's changed going to other concerts for me.
Hmm.
Um and it's just a different experience, but it always is weird now when I go to other shows where they're like basically encouraging it. Ex with
Mhm.
the exception of the most recent show I saw before Bob Dylan was Jack White,
Okay.
and they did the Yonder Pouches. And the last time I
Really?
had seen him 12 years ago, it was at the Chicago Theater, and he just came out on stage before the show, like the lights were still up, and he's just
Mhm.
like, everyone's like, "What's happening?" And he just like leveled with everyone. He's like, "Hey, these guys down here, those are professional photographers. They're going to document this entire show. And tomorrow I'm going to put up all the pictures on my website. You don't
Mhm.
need to take your phones out. Do yourself a favor, just leave it in your pocket." And everyone respected it. It was a different time,
Right.
and for the most part, everyone respected it. And so I love that, that the Yonder pouches are like kind of catching on. And I know that Bob wasn't going to be able to enforce the Yonder pouches at these big, amphitheater
Mhm.
shows. But I do like that it was enforced. What I don't like is that the sometimes the security guards make more of a disruption than the people who
Mhm.
are doing, because they're like loudly, like they're like yelling
Right.
at people. And it's like,
Yeah.
shh, like just tell them to put
Just
the phone down.
yeah, go over there and deal with them. Pull them
Yeah,
aside.
yeah, pull them out. Yeah,
Right.
I hate that. But anyway,
Yeah.
I do like that, and I think it's like cool that Bob Dylan figured out a way. He's never liked the filming and the
Mm-mm.
pictures, and and he
No.
famously said in 2000, was it 2017 at the it was at the Beacon. He's like, we can either play the songs or we can pose.
Right.
Um, I don't think it was at the Beacon. Maybe it was at the Beacon.
I
No,
don't know.
is it in Germany? Maybe I don't know. Anyway, there's a video of it,
Right.
ironically, but
Ironically.
yeah, but yeah, it all around was a great vibe in Nashville.
Right. I agree. And the weather was also perfect.
Oh,
And I think
perfect
that that
night.
was part of the vibe too. But are you going to do the last
I
verse?
am. Are you ready
Okay,
for
good.
it?
Yeah, I am ready for it.
Okay. God be with you, brother dear. If you don't mind me asking, what brings you here? Oh, nothing much. I'm just looking for the man I came to see where he's lying in this lost land. Goodbye, Jimmy Reed, and with everything within ya. Can't you hear me calling from down in Virginia?
But
Okay.
I also think that the lost land is kind of bringing us back to this idea of, Jimmy Reed representing something pure that we've essentially lost. That
Mm,
he's looking for Jimmy Reed because, like where he's lying in this lost land. Like,
mm.
can we revive him somehow and get back to that sense?
That's so sad.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, but I mean, look where we are though in 2020 in the pandemic, and
Right.
you know,
We certainly were lying in a lost land,
hmm
for sure.
right.
Yeah. Well, who's he talk? Is he talking to Jimmy Reed when he says, "God be with you, brother dear"? If you don't mind me asking, what brings you here, or who's he talking to? Is he
I don't
talking to the
know.
muse? Is he talking to?
The first, my first instinct is, because he's saying brother dear to Jimmy Reed, like there's some sort of affection there, but maybe it's the muse or maybe it's a stranger,
Mm, mm, hmm hmm
like he's lost himself.
But then he answers his own question. I love it. He's
Right.
having a conversation with himself. Oh, nothing much. I'm just looking for the man.
Yeah.
Yeah, is the man like the boss man, big boss
Maybe it's the
man?
big
Is the
boss
man
man.
God?
Yeah.
Is it, like it's there's so many,
I think the man he's looking for is Jimmy Reed, don't you?
mm, hmm
If we're in a lost land and Jimmy Reed represents some sort of like blues musical purity or some,
savior.
yeah, or some,
Mhm.
bygone era that was simpler, then that's what he's kind of trying to unearth in the chaos in which we live.
I love for some reason I've pointed this out before. BobDylan.com writes God. I don't know if they always do this. I don't think they always do this because they don't do this with God on our side, but
Hmm.
they write G-D,
Hmm.
which is it's sort of like it's very common in Jewish scholarship
Hmm.
in translations to do
Right,
G-D, even though in Judaism, the word God is not one of the names of God. It's not a
right,
sacred word. It's just an English translation of.
right.
So it's always funny to me, and I'm always like, who is the person on BobDylan.com that is so religious that they need to write G-D? Or is that Bob Dylan? Did he want it that way? I know.
That's interesting. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, so I've seen it before. And I don't own the lyrics book because I refuse to buy it because to me it's not complete. until
Right.
it's one day
Until it's
complete.
complete, it's
Yeah.
not complete. That's all
Exactly.
we're
So
going to say.
yeah, that's
That's
all we're
how
gonna
we'll
say.
address it.
So I haven't looked to see if like God is G dash D there, but
Right.
it's just funny to me that like yeah, I don't
Now I want to
know.
get up and look at. I have one that someone bought me, but
Do you have
it's
the one from 85 or the
yes.
yeah, that's the classic one, the gray one
Hmm.
with the 80s. I mean,
Hmm.
that's you, Dylan in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so other than a reference to down in Virginia, which I
Hmm.
think Jimmy Reed's wife wrote that song.
Right. She
But
Mama Reed. Is that what she was
yeah,
called? Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think her name was Mary, but I think
Hmm.
like she was colloquially known as
Mama Reed.
Mama. Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
But other than that, is there any other kind of? Yeah, I mean, I know he loves doing a name check for a city or a state or a
Right.
country. So is that just one of these that's now
Yeah,
he's mentioned
that
Virginia?
yeah, I don't know because I was thinking about that. Like, is he buried there? Is he like is there some sort of reference? Because he's like, I'm looking for the man, like in this lost land,
Mm,
and like you know, I couldn't find anything other than the reference to the album and the song.
hmm.
So maybe because he's saying you'll hear me calling from down in Virginia, like he's gonna hear him singing his song, you know?
Well, what's interesting is like, Bob, he famously never panders, but I'm going to
Right.
amend that because he has so many songs where he references a city or a state, and when he does it in that city or state, the crowd obviously pops, and it definitely feels intentional. I had Michael Glover Smith here to talk about Cold Irons Bound,
Hmm.
and I've seen it a couple times. It's one of my probably top 10 and has the Chicago line, and Michael, has seen, 40 more shows than me, and many more even in the state of Illinois. And
Hmm.
he basically was like, yeah, I mean, every time I saw him, he played Cold Errands Bound in the state of Illinois. Like Dylan knows what he's doing. He is
Right.
pandering here.
Right.
And I remember
Like when he
asking,
plays Blind Willie McTell in Houston, I traveled through East Texas and everybody loses their mind.
loses their mind, yeah. Or
Right.
when he's in Europe and he does when I paint my masterpiece with all of
Hmm.
those cities.
Right.
So that that's always such a big deal. So it was cool to like that, our friends who saw him at the Wolf Trap this year, just a few shows before us,
Hmm.
got to hear him do that in Virginia. Like that must, and he played another Virginia show before that, right? Like Anne Margaret Daniel wrote
Right,
about
right,
it, who was
right.
just your guest. That was a fabulous episode, by the way.
Thank you,
Um,
thank you. She's amazing.
yeah, yeah. So here's another one where he gets to pander to the
Hmm.
crowd by name checking Virginia, and I'm sure that was
Right.
like, I don't know, I'm sure that was like really thrilling for the folks in Virginia.
You and I were together, well, not together, but like in the same venue in October 2023 when he opened with Born in Chicago and everybody lost their damn minds. I mean, like that's pandering too. That he did a whole tour where he was playing.
Totally.
Look,
Yeah,
look
he
at
was
your
sitting
face. You're
spitting.
like, even your face now, you're like in like bliss. It's so
Oh,
cute.
it was.
It was
I
so good.
I mean, uh, Paul Butterfield Blues Band famously went to the University of Chicago in the
Hmm.
neighborhood of Hyde Park, where I'm from. My
Right.
mom was in the same class at the University of Chicago with Mark Naftalin, the keyboard player from the Paul Butterfield Blues Band.
Hmm.
My, dad was born in Chicago in 1941. Like when Bob Dylan, and my dad is exactly 1 month to the day younger than Bob Dylan. And when he came out and the band is going bump, bump, ba da da da. And I'm like, is this like all it needs is Paul Butterfield going, "Pow, pow, 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 pow." But I was like, is this born in Chicago? Is he really going to do it? And I was sitting, it was the one time I sat in the balcony I mean, the whole tour since 2021.
Right.
But so I had this bird's in the front row, I had this bird's eye view, and Bob, came out and just, yeah, that was a magic moment.
Yeah. It's just like even now you're still like high on that experience. It's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think about it from time to time, because like,
Mhm.
we've both had such a long history with the Rough and Rowdy Ways tour. I mean, I more
Mhm.
than doubled a concert count from the Rough and
Right.
Rowdy Ways tour. So,
Why
yeah,
do you think that is? Why do you think we feel sense of urgency? Because we feel like the
I,
fear of it ending?
I think a few things.
Yeah.
One, and I've mentioned this. I've talked about this with a couple other people. I think number one, it is our sacred duty to,
Mhm.
if we love Bob Dylan and enjoy seeing him live, it is our duty to see him live as much as possible
Right.
while we can. And that I am not implying that I think he is done anytime soon, but I
Mm-mm.
just think number one, that's like the number one priority.
Well, that's
Number
what
two,
Paul Williams says, that if you were
mm,
alive at the time when he's performing, it is incumbent upon you to basically, like go see it and tell other people about it
yeah.
and capture that experience.
I mean, imagine you got to see Shakespeare at the Globe Theater or something like that. Like,
Right.
it's like that. It's our duty. So, as a lover of art, and
Mhm.
Bob Dylan. And I think the other thing is just a little more practical. We're of an age now where we have jobs and can
Can
somewhat make
afford.
can afford to go somewhat make our own schedule. Like I,
Right.
I've mentioned this so many times, but like, like he did 5 nights in Chicago in 2005. I went to one of them. First of all, I didn't know that that was a thing that you could go to more than one, or you did go to
Right.
more than one. But also, I couldn't afford to it. I was like my first job out of college. Like I was making,
Right.
$28,000 a year, or something like that.
Right.
So I think now, like and I am speaking from a place of privilege that I'm able to afford concert
Of
tickets, and I know
course.
many folks aren't who would love to see him. So I think that, and just like the ability to be an adult and make your own schedule. Like all I have to
Mhm.
do is like make sure either my wife is home or I have a babysitter lined up, and I'm good.
Or you bring them to Dublin on a family
Or
vacation.
I bring them to Dublin on a family vacation. Yes. That is true. Oh man, Aaron, I tried for this
London.
next Europe tour. It's not happening, but I tried.
Oh,
My wife was
you had
basically
to.
like, "You little rascal! Like, we can't do that." She's like, "I would love to go to Europe, but it's not happening."
Thanks for asking, but no.
You get one, basically.
Right.
If he was playing in Italy, like during that Thanksgiving week break,
Right.
done. But it's like we just went to the UK. She's like, I'm good
Right.
with UK in the winter, basically.
Right.
Cold and rainy
Yeah.
season. But
No, I'm still on the fence about London. I need to make a decision.
I'm sure you're there. I remember you were on the fence about Dublin for a while.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Your fence means you're
My
there.
fence is like I can pretty easily get knocked over to
Yeah,
yes.
you're on the other side. You're climbing down the other side. You are technically on the fence, but you're just, you're not
Yeah, I'm
on.
on the fence, but I'm on the one side of it. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, is there anything else you want to say about Goodbye
I think
Jimmy Reed or Bob Dylan in general? I think we covered a lot.
I really do think we covered a lot of ground. And so I don't know. I think we got the song out. We talked about it in Nashville. We talked about Nashville. I think we did a good job.
I think
And
we did,
I love
yeah,
talking to you, so I'll just
of
stay up
course.
all night and talk
Yeah.
with you.
Aaron, I know there's some big news in your world. I was hoping that this could be the place where you would announce it formally in an auditory way. What is going on for you? What are you excited to
Oh, the
announce?
book?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
I appreciate you asking, and I appreciate you saying that. And so Court
And being
Carney
the
and
first order, maybe.
I think you were, and I promise I will give you your 40% discount. I feel so bad about that. All right, so Court Carney and I have edited another book, and it's with LSU Press. It comes out February 9th next year, but it's available for pre-order. I'll send you have the link
Yeah, I'll put it
through
up.
through LSU Press, and for a limited time, you get 40% off if you order it.
It's
And it
available
has
on both paperback and ebook.
ebook, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so some of our contributors are Ray Paget, Paul Haney, Graylee Heron, Rob Virginio. Trying to think of who else is in there. I got that. Rona Crown, Lee Edwards, Jason Tebby. I'm in there. I had the chapter.
Court? Is Court in there?
And the intro and conclusion. And then, Court and I wrote them together. More Court because I did the chapter. Jason Tebby, and then John Rodosta and Keith Nainby. And I think I got everyone. And if I forgot anyone, I apologize. But it is Bob Dylan in the 1980s, a reconsideration. And it's something near and dear to my heart because I think it is too often maligned. And I think people
Yes.
are starting to come around to the 80s. And I'm so grateful for that.
I've always appreciated your love of the 80s and your championing of the 80s
Thank
at
you.
that wonderful panel at the Tulsa conference. I would say it's an era I came later to as a Bob as I was, I soaked it all up at the same time. So the whole
Right.
thing. So I don't think of like one era being lesser than the other.
Hmm.
However, I'm not as well versed in it as I am other eras until
That's fair.
recently, until meeting you and
Thank you.
and Harold Lapidus, and
Hmm.
he was on, he was on here and he taught me about the Unholy Trinity,
Yep.
which I just think is the greatest because I love those albums.
Of
So
course.
yeah.
And the argument isn't that everything was great in the 80s and we need to completely, turn around how we think about it. It's really reconsidering what was good in the 80s and how
Mm.
we approach it. So I appreciate that we're not cheerleading every single thing because there's some dark days in the 80s and there's some stuff that isn't as great as other stuff. But there's some really good stuff in the 80s that we tend to overlook and it gets kind of smushed into the low points.
I mean, he played with the Grateful Dead. He played with
Mhm.
Tom Petty. He made a movie where he punches someone. Like,
Rebecca Slayman, that's who I
oh,
forgot.
of
Rebecca
course,
Slayman. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Rebecca. Yes, she wrote about Hearts of Fire. Thank you so
perfect.
much for reminding me. Yeah.
Rebecca, the greatest champion of Hearts of Fire, and of course, check
Yes.
out her Bob Dylan freewheeling tours in New
Hmm.
York. But I mean, the movie is unwatchable when he's not in it.
Right.
But but when
I
he's
mean,
in
it's the
it,
greatest punch in cinema history.
yeah, I love that punch. I love it. Yeah, yeah. The Masked Anonymous one I love too. But
Yeah.
they're both pretty great. I mean,
Right.
the Hearts of Fire one, it's
It's the
more.
wind up.
Yeah, it's the wind up. He pulls all the way back. It's like one of
Right.
those toys that you turn, and there's a car that you
Yeah.
pull back, and so yes, Bob Dylan of the 1980s. You can pre-order it. We'll put the link
Thank
in
you.
the show notes. But I'm so excited for that.
Thank
And
you.
why don't you tell where folks can find you on your fabulous podcast and anywhere else?
My podcast is, we're going to get our Apple feeds back, so look for us there soon. Um, Very contentious behind the scenes, but
Mm.
Infinity Goes Up on Trial is on Substack. It's on Spotify. It's where you can get most podcasts, but Substack is probably the best place to find it. And then you can find me at In the Fishbowl, PHISH, and it doesn't have to do with the band, though I love them. It's just my nickname. So I have that at Insta and Blue Sky, and you can find me on Facebook if you're on Facebook, just my name. And then also there's an Infinity Goes Up on Trial Instagram too. That's everything.
And if you want to buy Erin a coffee so she can keep all this keep the lights on, you can buy her a coffee.
You can do that too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for saying that. I
Of
forget
course.
to do my own promo. You're a
Awesome.
good friend.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, here's an exit
Okay.
question for you.
All right.
If you could visit one verse as a place to go and witness the whole thing from this song, which one would it be?
From this song?
Hmm.
Okay.
So I asked a similar question to my last guest about Desolation Row.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of weirdly, I think there's a lot of connections between Desolation Row and Goodbye Jimmy
Hmm.
Reed, which you didn't even get to get into. I mentioned something
No.
briefly, but so there's a lot of scene painting in this song, and so if you could pick one of these scenes to observe, which one would it
I
be?
I mean, my knee jerk is to go for the transparent woman
Hmm.
in a transparent dress. And I'll tell you that it's a little bit of the naughtiness in me as a Reformed Catholic that when I was taking a Joyce class, our final was that we picked from a bowl, one of the episodes
Mm,
from Ulysses.
mm.
And I was praying that I picked the Molly one because can I curse?
You can curse. Yes,
Because
I'll
I
bleep it
wanted
out.
to say he fucked me up to my neck and I got to pull Molly, and it was like
And you said
my
it.
oh yeah, I did a great reading of that the passage that I picked. So there's something that I like to be a little naughty but sanctioned naughty, so I think that would be good. But I also love the thump on the Bible and
Mm,
proclaim your creed. Like that to me is like I would love to watch that, and like that verse is probably one that I could live in for a little while because it
awesome.
feels like a revival almost,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. Can't
Thank
wait
you.
to
This
do
has
it
been a
again.
Yeah, of course. I love chatting with you. You know that.
We're so good at
Yeah, and
it.
thank you for having me on. I really appreciate the invitation.
Anytime, anytime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening and watching. Look for the next episode on the 15th day of the month in all of your podcast feeds. If you're subscribing to Apple Podcasts, please take a moment and give us a rating or review. It's the best way to spread the word about the show. For a video version of the podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Songs of Bob Dylan. You can, of course, email us at songsofbobdylan@gmail.com. Thank you to my friend and mentor, Rob Kelly, for designing our fabulous logo, and to my mandolin teacher, Mark Mitchell, from the Old Town School of Folk Music in Chicago, for teaching me how to play the intro and the outro. If you'd like to help support the cost of hosting my podcasts, go to patreon.com/gonzo3249. For $5, I'll show my gratitude by giving you a shout out. So thank you to Rob Kelly, Joachim Meckel, Roberta Rakove, Matt Simonson, Christopher Vani. For $10, I'll send you a surprise piece of vintage Bob Dylan merch. So thank you to the girl from the North Country, Katie Sorovic. Speaking of merch, I have a store. Lots of fun stickers, shirts, hats, and other goodies for you. So check it out at henryjbernstein.com. Thank you to my Substack subscribers, Mark Godfrey, Linda Maltzbeed. You can check that out at henrybernstein.substack.com. Truly, I love you all. Thank you again, and see you next time.